Meanwhile, we're looking at China once again. China's defense minister kicking off a 4-day trip to Russia by meeting with the president there, Vladimir Putin. That started in Moscow yesterday with that meeting. The two hailing their country's military cooperation less than a month after Chinese leaders Xi Jinping and Putin pledged to, quote, deepen military mutual trust after their meeting in Russia. Joining me right now is the Gatestone Institute senior fellow and author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War. Gordon Chang is back with us. Gordon, great to see you. We have so much to get into this morning because I spoke with the House Foreign Affairs Chairman Michael McCaul yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures discussing the potential for China to invade Taiwan. And before I tell you what he said, how threatening is this, new formed partnership or new strengthening partnership with Russia?
Well, this really is a change in the international system. It's a new Cold War. And you have the axis that is forming around China and Russia, and includes their proxies like Iran, North Korea, Iran, Algeria. And really, this is a monumental change. And the Biden administration, unfortunately, does not want to recognize that we are in this competition.
Yeah. So Michael McCaul, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee, led the GOP Foreign Affairs Committee to his trip to Taiwan last week. And while they were there on the ground in the island nation, Gordon, they were surrounded. They had Chinese fighter jets in the air, 71 fighter jets. They had an aircraft carrier. They had 10 ships around them. And they had their meetings and discussed Taiwan's readiness. And Michael McCaul said that they have a ways to go, that they're not ready should we see an invasion from China into Taiwan. And they're still waiting on all this armament, the weaponry that Michael McCaul approved 3 to 5 years ago. Here's what he told me yesterday. Watch. Are they ready at this point? What can you tell us about the readiness, putting those weaponry aside?
They have a ways to go. I signed off on 22 weapon systems, Maria, 3 years ago, some as long as 5 years ago, that have yet to go into Taiwan. They've actually paid for these weapons. So when I meet with President Tsai, her first question is, when am I going to get my weapons? And why is that important? Because the weapons provide the deterrence. The deterrence promotes peace and stops conflict. If we have no deterrence, just like Ukraine, if we have no deterrence on the ground in Taiwan, rest assured, Chairman Xi will make that calculation.
Gordon, Mike McCaul said that he would expect the CCP to try to infiltrate and get involved in the election in Taiwan, which, of course, as you know, is happening in January of next year. And if that fails and they don't get their candidate to win the Taiwanese election, then they'll go to Plan B. And they'll do a cyber war. They will shut down the island. They will surround it with a blockade. And he's talking about getting the Starlink system, ISR, on the ground in Taiwan so that Taiwan can have eyes and ears in the backyard of China. How significant do you see all of this? And when would you expect, or if, China goes into Taiwan?
Well, first of all, China is preparing and making fast preparations to go to war. And it's not just building up its military, it's also mobilizing its civilians. There has been low-level activity, such as China's cyber attacks on Taiwan. They go on all the time. China's been influencing Taiwanese politics from the get-go, and they're going to certainly ramp that up. They probably aren't going to win in 2024, and largely because the KMT, which is the pro-China party, is very much behind the ball. In Taiwan, people consider themselves to be Taiwanese, not Chinese, and this is going to be the central issue in the campaign. So I think China is not going to get the candidate it wants in the election. It means it's going to ramp up the activity, and Taiwan is not prepared.
Yeah, and then they sanctioned Mike McCaul when he came back from his trip, saying that he created a serious violation of China's sovereignty by going and meeting with the officials in Taiwan. Then China then condemned the United States. They're doing that this morning for the U.S. imposing those sanctions over fentanyl trade. The Treasury Department announced that they were sanctioning 2 companies based in China and 4 Chinese nationals. They did this on Friday, accusing them of supplying the precursor chemicals to drug cartels in Mexico for the production of fentanyl, Gordon. And we know that that's true. We've heard this from 2 administrations, from the Biden administration and the Trump administration. Merrick Garland told us all about it just last week, that all of these chemicals are made in China. China's pushing this fentanyl trade into Mexico and into the United States. What's the goal here?
Well, the goal is to kill Americans, and they're very successful at it. Because when we get the numbers for last year, we'll find that about 80,000 or more Americans have died from doses of illegal Chinese fentanyl. And what we have to do is not just sanction criminals. What we have to do is sanction the Communist Party and the Chinese central government, because China runs a near total surveillance state. They know what these fentanyl gangs are doing, and they approve of them. Also, Chinese diplomats have been in full support of the gangs, including actions we saw in the first week of this month. And also, these fentanyl gangs launder their proceeds through the Chinese state banking system. So we need to recognize that this is not criminal activity as we know that term. This is really a state activity, and the Chinese Communist Party is behind it, and we need to sanction China. Until we do that, we're not going to make any progress on fentanyl at all.
Yeah, meanwhile, they've got the most favored nation status on trade, and we have this massive deficit with the CCP. Liz Peek, jump in here.
Good morning, Gordon. The Financial Times this morning has a front page article about China having about $80 billion of their Belt and Road debts basically going bad. And this is just part of China's enormous debt problem. It seems to me China always sort of takes a military tack or looks for an enemy outside the country when the economy isn't doing well. I've been surprised that the economy has not bounced back from the close downs of COVID as rapidly as expected. How do you look at that? I mean, do you think there is a tie between their economic well-being and what they might want to do militarily?
Well, certainly, Liz. And the reason is that China's economy actually in the January-February period contracted. There was a slight recovery in March, but the recovery, as you point out, has been anemic. Now, China's economic problems can be traced to Xi Jinping's policies. He has no answer for them. We know that because he doesn't talk about the problems that concern Chinese people, like youth unemployment and plunging property prices. And Xi Jinping's only way out of this, Liz, is, as you suggest, he's got to find an enemy, and that is generally the United States. And he has got to, I think, try to humiliate us or go to war with one of his neighbors, because he obviously doesn't have any domestic answers.
Yeah, but Gordon, they are continuing to try to beat America on so many levels, particularly on technology. You say the artificial intelligence threat to humanity will become far greater if China masters it before the United States does.
Yeah, AI is a transformative technology. And whoever has the best AI is going to have the strongest economy, which means that they're going to have the best military. This goes across the board, and obviously we cannot allow China to do that. China has a built-in advantage because they've been taking data from around the world, and the more data you put into an AI system, the better it is. So our technology has to be far better than theirs to make up for that disadvantage.
Yep. All right. We will leave it there. Thank you so much, Gordon. It's great to see you.